This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill. Imagine waking up to a world plunged into darkness. Not just your street, not just your city, but an entire continent. 72 hours, 3 agonizing days. Asia, the powerhouse of global manufacturing, technology, and finance, completely off the grid. Communications severed, supply chains fractured, markets frozen. And in the midst of this unprecedented digital silence, one precious metal, silver, didn't just tick up, it exploded. We're talking about a reported bid price, a bid of $195 for an ounce of physical silver. Meanwhile, the very heartbeat of global commodity trading, the COMEX, stayed dark, silent, completely unresponsive. This isn't a hypothetical scenario from a dystopian novel. It's a chilling potential glimpse into the fragility of our interconnected world, and it has profound implications for every single one of us, especially here in the United States. What happened when the lights went out? What does a 72-hour blackout across Asia mean for global financial markets, for the price of silver, and, crucially, for the massive leveraged positions of those who were betting against silver, the shorts? This isn't just about a power outage. It's about the very foundation of our modern economic system being tested to its breaking point. It asks about the true value of physical assets in a crisis versus the ephemeral nature of digital promises. And it's about a potential short squeeze on silver that could make history, trapping some of the biggest players in finance. You need to understand this because it directly impacts your wealth, your future, and the stability of the global economy. Stay with me, because what I'm about to reveal will challenge everything you thought you knew about money, markets, and the real power of precious metals. Let's dissect this catastrophic scenario, starting with the root cause, the 72-hour blackout itself. Picture it. Vast swathes of Asia, from bustling metropolises to remote villages, plunged into an eerie silence. The lights flicker, then die. Power grids, once the arteries of modern civilization, fail en masse. For 3 days, a quarter of the world's population grapples with a world without electricity. Communication networks collapse. Digital transactions halt. Factories, which churn out everything from microchips to clothing for the global market, stand idle. This isn't just an inconvenience, it's an economic paralysis. The exact cause of such a widespread, prolonged outage could be anything from a catastrophic infrastructure failure, perhaps triggered by an extreme natural disaster, to a sophisticated and coordinated cyber attack targeting critical energy systems across multiple nations, or perhaps, even more frighteningly, a never-before-seen cascading failure initiated by a single, seemingly minor event, snowballing into an uncontrollable, systemic collapse. The sheer scale and duration are what truly elevate this to a black swan event, completely off the charts of normal risk assessments. The immediate impact on Asia would be devastating. Hospitals operating on emergency generators, if they have them, food and water supply chains quickly stressed. But the ripple effect, the truly seismic shockwave, would travel instantly across the globe. Asia is the manufacturing hub of the world. It's a vital node in global supply chains for virtually every product imaginable, from consumer electronics to automotive components, pharmaceuticals, and raw materials. A 72-hour shutdown means production grinds to a halt. Goods aren't made, aren't shipped. Global trade would seize up. For American consumers and businesses, this would mean immediate and severe disruptions. Shelves would empty. Production lines in the US, reliant on Asian components, would stop, and the cost of everything would skyrocket due to scarcity. This isn't just a local problem, it's a global supply chain disruption of epic proportions, directly impacting inflation and economic stability here in the United States. Now, let's pivot to the incredible market reaction that unfolded amidst this darkness. As Asia plunged into silence, traditional market mechanisms ceased to function. Major exchanges, including those typically active during Asian trading hours, would struggle or simply shut down. Yet, in the pockets where physical trading could still occur, where people and institutions desperately sought to preserve wealth or secure essential resources, something extraordinary happened with silver. The reported bid price of $195 per ounce for physical silver was an official exchange closing price. It was a desperate cry from market participants, though, a reflection of overwhelming demand in a world starved of stability and confidence. Think about it. When paper promises and digital entries become meaningless, what do you turn to? Assets you can hold, assets that have intrinsic value. And silver, with its unique dual role as both a monetary metal and an indispensable industrial commodity, became the immediate focus. Why silver specifically, and not just gold? While gold is the ultimate safe haven asset, silver possesses an explosive potential due to its smaller market cap and its critical industrial demand. It's used in virtually everything modern: solar panels, electric vehicles, medical devices, electronics. When global supply chains break down, access to new silver supply becomes severely constrained. Simultaneously, in a crisis, people rush to convert depreciating fiat currency into tangible assets. The combination of intense industrial demand, speculative and safe haven buying, and a suddenly constricted physical supply would create a perfect storm. The $195 bid price, while perhaps localized and not indicative of a global spot price, sends a clear, chilling message. In a real crisis, physical silver's value can detach dramatically from its paper representation. This isn't market speculation. This is market panic, reflecting true supply and demand dynamics when the digital veil is lifted. This is what happens when the global economy faces a genuine supply shock and the fear of a financial collapse looms large. And that brings us to the most unsettling part of this scenario for American investors, the COMEX. The New York Commodity Exchange, or COMEX, is the world's primary futures market for precious metals. It's where the global benchmark silver price is predominantly set, largely through the trading of futures contracts and derivatives. This is where the vast majority of paper silver is exchanged. But in our 72-hour blackout scenario, the COMEX stays dark. No trading, no price discovery, no transparency. This isn't just an outage. It's a critical component of the global financial plumbing system ceasing to function at the exact moment it's needed most. Why would COMEX stay dark? It could be a system failure, a regulatory halt due to extreme volatility, or an inability to accurately price in such chaotic conditions, or even a deliberate intervention to prevent a complete market meltdown. The crucial point is that while physical silver in Asia is being bid up to astronomical levels, the supposed global price arbiter is silent. This creates an unprecedented disconnect between the physical silver market and the paper silver market. It exposes the fundamental vulnerability of a system where the price of a tangible asset is primarily determined by futures contracts, rather than actual physical supply and demand. This emphasizes the growing disparity between physical delivery capabilities and the sheer volume of paper claims on silver. Now, let's talk about the shorts trapped. This is where the real fireworks would begin, and it directly impacts some of the largest financial institutions in the world. Who are these shorts? Typically, they are large banks and institutional investors who bet that the price of silver will fall. They do this by selling futures contracts or borrowing silver to sell, hoping to buy it back at a lower price later and profit from the difference. This is a highly leveraged game. You control a large amount of silver value with a relatively small amount of capital. For years, critics of the precious metals market, including many prominent voices in the independent financial community, have pointed to the massive paper short positions held by these entities on COMEX, arguing that they effectively suppress the silver price. In a situation where physical silver is being bid at $195 an ounce in Asia, and COMEX is dark, the shorts are in an absolutely terrifying predicament. They have massive liabilities, contracts to deliver silver at a price far below what the physical market is demanding, and no functional market in which to cover their positions. When the price of an asset they are short on begins to rise, they face margin calls, demands from their brokers to put up more capital to cover potential losses. If they can't meet these margin calls, they are forced to buy back their contracts, which further fuels the price increase in a cascading effect known as a short squeeze. With COMEX Dark, there is no official reference price and no mechanism for these short sellers to cover their positions. They are essentially blind and helpless as the global silver price potentially explodes around them. The risk becomes theoretically infinite. Imagine being short silver at $25 an ounce, and you hear whispers, then confirmed reports, that physical silver is trading at $195 an ounce. What happens when COMEX finally reopens? The panic, the scramble to cover, would be unlike anything we've ever seen. This isn't just about individual traders losing money. This is about massive defaults among major financial institutions, potentially leading to systemic risk that could destabilize the entire global financial system. This scenario directly exposes the extreme leverage and inherent fragility within the derivatives market and the immense power of paper silver to distort true market fundamentals. The broader economic and financial system impact for the United States would be profound and immediate. Beyond the initial supply chain shock, a financial meltdown triggered by a silver short squeeze and bank defaults would send shockwaves through Wall Street and Main Street alike. Stock markets would plunge, credit markets would freeze, and the global economy would face an existential crisis. The US dollar, already under pressure from unprecedented government spending and quantitative easing, would face immense devaluation as confidence in the entire fiat currency system erodes. Inflation, already a significant concern for American households, would accelerate wildly as both supply constraints and currency debasement take hold. This isn't just about silver, it's about the entire interwoven fabric of the global economy. An Asian Blackout highlights the extreme vulnerability of our modern, digitally dependent world. It underscores how geopolitical events, critical infrastructure failures, or even sophisticated cyber warfare can trigger economic devastation far beyond their initial scope. For the American people, this would manifest as rapidly escalating prices for essential goods, job losses as businesses struggle, and a severe erosion of personal wealth. It would be a stark, brutal wake-up call to the fragility of our financial systems and the precariousness of our reliance on distant supply chains. This is the kind of event that leads to calls for a complete overhaul of monetary policy and a reevaluation of how central banks manage economic stability. This scenario also throws into sharp relief the perennial paper silver versus physical silver debate. For years, precious metals advocates have warned about the massive disconnect between the amount of paper claims on silver, through futures contracts, ETFs, and unallocated accounts, and the actual amount of physical silver available for delivery. The argument is that the paper market is many times larger than the physical market, creating a system that can be manipulated and is inherently unstable in a crisis. When the COMEX is dark and physical silver bids soar to $195, that debate isn't just academic, it becomes terrifyingly real. In such a crisis, who would you rather be? The institution holding unallocated silver accounts, essentially a promise from a bank, or the individual with physical silver coins and bars in their possession? The answer becomes painfully clear. Physical possession of silver or gold becomes the ultimate hedge against inflation, against currency devaluation, and against systemic risk. It's not just an investment, it's wealth preservation, a form of financial independence that bypasses the broken promises of the paper financial system. This situation vividly demonstrates why many are turning to alternative investments and diversifying their portfolios beyond traditional stocks and bonds, recognizing the intrinsic value of tangible assets. So, what does this potential future scenario mean for you, the American investor and citizen? It means understanding the fragility of the financial system you operate within. It means recognizing that black swan events are not just theoretical possibilities, but increasingly likely occurrences in a complex, interconnected, and often unstable global landscape. It means not putting all your eggs in the digital basket. This scenario underscores the profound importance of financial preparedness and diversification. While I am not a financial advisor, and this is not financial advice, the lesson is clear. Having a portion of your wealth in physical precious metals like silver and gold can act as an insurance policy against precisely these types of catastrophic events. Silver, in particular, offers a unique blend of monetary value and critical industrial demand. Its role in the green energy revolution, solar panels, electric vehicles, ensures strong underlying demand, even in less chaotic times. When you combine that with its historical role as money and its smaller market size compared to gold, you get a commodity with immense upside potential in a crisis. This type of event also accelerates the wealth transfer that many financial analysts predict. As fiat currencies devalue and traditional assets become volatile, those holding tangible, scarce assets like precious metals stand to see their purchasing power preserved and potentially even grow exponentially relative to paper wealth. This isn't just about getting rich, it's about not getting left behind, about protecting your family's financial future in an increasingly uncertain world. It's about building a robust financial independence that can withstand shocks. Looking ahead, if such a blackout and silver price surge were to occur, what would happen when COMEX finally reopens? That's the billion-dollar question, potentially a trillion-dollar question. Would regulators immediately intervene, suspending trading or attempting to repeg the price at an artificially lower level, thereby further eroding confidence in the integrity of the market? Or would the floodgates open, unleashing a tidal wave of short covering and truly allowing the physical price of silver to dictate its official market valuation? Either way, the implications for the silver market and global finance would be revolutionary. We could see a permanent shift in how precious metals are valued, with a much greater emphasis placed on physical delivery and actual supply, moving away from the dominance of the paper derivatives market. The increasing likelihood of grid-down scenarios, whether from cyber attacks, natural disasters, or even geomagnetic storms, should serve as a stark reminder of the vulnerability of our critical infrastructure. The lesson of a 72-hour blackout in Asia, even if it remains a hypothetical for now, is a crucial one. It forces us to confront the reality of our dependence on complex systems and the potential for those systems to fail. It highlights the often ignored market fundamentals that underpin the real value of commodities. This is not just news. It's a warning, a forecast of potential economic turmoil that could reshape our world. So, while we hope such a catastrophic event never truly unfolds, preparing for it, understanding its mechanisms, and taking proactive steps to safeguard your wealth are not just wise, they are essential. The world is becoming more volatile, more unpredictable. The time to think about these scenarios isn't when the lights go out, it's right now, while you still have the opportunity to act. Don't be caught unprepared. Research, learn, and position yourself wisely in the face of increasing global uncertainty. Understanding the dynamics of the global economy, The role of precious metals and the fragility of financial markets is no longer a niche interest. It's fundamental to navigating the future. If you found this deep dive into a potentially terrifying but absolutely crucial scenario informative, challenging, and valuable, please make sure you hit that like button. It helps us tremendously in reaching more people who need to hear these vital insights. And if you want to stay ahead of the curve, if you want to understand these complex market dynamics and global events that directly impact your financial well-being, then you absolutely must subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell. We're here to bring you the analyses, the warnings, and the insights you won't find anywhere else. Don't get trapped by ignorance. Arm yourself with knowledge.